Hi, I'm Emily, and today I want to look at one of the most interesting artists when it comes to looking at and experiencing art as a sensorial experience. Bruce Nauman takes his art to another level with his use of night vision cameras. Before we delve deeper into a closer look at his art, first let's look at what a sensory experience is and what this means for the world of art. On its own, a sense is defined as a faculty by which the body perceives an external stimulus, one of the faculties of sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch. Previously, in past decades, we knew art as a purely visual experience, where what you see is what you get. However, over the past few weeks studying digital art, we have learned that with innovation, art today has morphed into much, much more than it used to be. It is important to remember that art as a sensorial experience can be much more than just an artist purposefully making their art smell or appear a certain way to a certain sense. The Metropolitan Museum of Art says that most museums work to make sure that galleries have neutral smells and sounds that the visitor can focus on the artworks, but those factors can alter the experience significantly. All of the senses, sight, sound, touch, smell, and hearing, are a part of the museum experience. A great example of this is the image shown to the right of a man at a Media Lab Expo exhibit, which included scratch and sniff art. Visit the museum's website to learn more about art as a sensorial experience. The most important thing to keep in mind as we delve into Bruce Nauman specifically is that all of the senses are a very important part of experiencing his art. Bruce Nauman is a great example of an innovative artist who attempts to create a multisensory experience. Surprisingly, as a boy growing up in Indiana, Nauman never had any form of training in regards to art. It was not until his sophomore year at University of Wisconsin-Madison that he decided his bachelor's would be in science with a minor in painting. A few years later, after starting a family, he decided to go to the University of California, Davis. Due to the influence of a few key professors at that college, that was where Newman really grew into the artist that he became and what brought him so much success. These three professors are often credited as some of the biggest influencers on Nauman and his art. They are a big part of what caused him to turn away from painting and focus on sculpting. Professor Wiley's art was often referred to as punk, and when we begin to look at Nauman's work, you will definitely see this influence. Robert Arneson, another professor, was also a sculptor, and as you can see in the image to the right, his work was very unique. Lastly, Professor Neri was also known for her abnormal life-size sculptures. All of these individualistic artists helped Nauman to find his way in the world of art and become so unique. To understand where the crazy creations that Nauman makes originate from, it's important to know some of the basic art concepts that are an important part of his works. Postmodernism was a huge influence on Nauman's art, especially in the next two works of his that we're going to look at. Nauman did not like the notion of what art was, and he wanted to create multi-sensory works that challenged the original notion of art. It is also important to note that he was a believer of conceptualism. Most importantly, though, Nauman's use of minimalism often caused his viewers to see his work as crude, especially when it came to the human body and the way that he showed it with simplicity. We can see this by looking at his work titled Seven Figures, shown in the image to the right. It is also important to know that beyond his sculptures, he enjoyed creating performance art and video art. We will also look at an example of this in the coming slides. This work is arguably Nauman's most famous. When he created it, he was working in a studio that he had set up in an abandoned grocery store. The sign reads, "The true artist helps the world by revealing mystic truths." This has a tone of satire in it, as he is criticizing the old belief that art is supposed to depict some kind of large revelation. Instead, Nauman wanted his art to be exciting and engaging. Over time, Nauman's works became more and more about a sensory experience. By the 1980s, all of his works had some level of a sensory experience within them, whether it be smell, taste, or touch involved. One of the most powerful creations was made in 1987 titled Clown Torture. The viewer goes into a closed room where they view two sidewalls that have videotapes of different scary images being projected. The idea was the viewer is so scared that it's almost unbearable and feels as if they are being attacked, but in their mind. This is definitely not an exhibit that I would want to go to, but nonetheless, Non's themes of surveillance, physical stress, interrogation, repetition, and mind games are what made people so attracted to his art. Here are a few more examples of Nauman's works. To sum things up, art is no longer what it used to be. Nauman is just one of the many artists that took art and turned it into a full multisensory experience. If you want to know more about any of the terms or artists discussed, feel free to check out the links below to some of these really great resources. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.